Hello，大家好。如果大家在直播间的话，可以说一下一。If you are currently in the live chat room, you can just type 1. So our admin will see you as well. Okay. Thank you for coming for today's event and spend this precious Sunday afternoon with us. I am Betty, and today let's welcome all our guests to come to the stage first. Okay, please allow me to introduce them. Hi everyone. Yeah. Okay. Hi. Please allow me to introduce them briefly. Okay. So the first one is Mr. Yi Zhenzheng. Okay. He is he's an education entrepreneur and is a former NCMT. Okay, and also the founder of Ask and Learn, and most importantly, he is a father of 5 children. So Mr. Yi Zhenzheng. Three, sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry. I see 5 people on the stage. Okay, so yeah, Mr. Yi 他是资深的教育专家，然后他呢也是新加坡的前国会议员。当然呢，他呢也是很多人熟悉的系统 Ask and Learn 的创始人。最重要的呢是他是3个孩子的父亲。Okay, so the second speaker I'm going to introduce is Kaizim. Okay, hi Kaizim. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, with all the books at the background. So, Kaizim is he, like in the past, he has adjusted his study methods and went through the neighborhood school, from a neighborhood primary school, a neighborhood secondary school, and all the way until he goes to his favorite university, NUS, and continue his masters in NUS as well. OK， 然后开心呢，他个人呢是曾经的时候，因为小时候顽皮，也不能叫顽皮吧，是他个人的兴趣爱好，他很爱踢足球，然后有一些少许影响到他的学业，可是他及时调整他的学习方式，然后从邻里的小学到邻里中学，最后也是步入他的理想的大学。OK， 然后今天他也会分享他自己在中学中的心路历程。OK，so the third person I'm going to introduce today is Rong Li. Hi, and we should call her Dr. Zhang. Okay, so 她不是很she personally doesn't like to speak as doctor because she just want to be more close to everyone, not as a doctor's position. But she himself so has is a PhD from NUS statistics. Okay, so and in the past, her children didn't go to tuition centers, but instead she herself to coach her child, and in the end receive all A1s for both O-level E-Maths and A-Maths, and later she will share her special tips in how she helped her child. Okay, so 荣丽呢，她其实是张博士，但是呢，我们她喜欢用亲切的称呼荣丽。可以所以大家以后直接称呼他荣丽就可以了。OK， 然后他呢是新加坡国立大学的统计博士。OK， 然后他呢也是一路陪伴自己的孩子去辅导他的孩子。他的孩子呢并没有参加课外的补习，但相反是荣丽呢一直去指导自己的孩子，最后在 O-level 的 E-Maths 和 A-Maths 上取得了全部都是 A1 的非常优异的成绩。OK， 等一下他也会作为一个妈妈来分享他是如何帮助他的孩子的。OK， 然后 the last one, okay, sorry, I'm following the sequence of the stage. So, but most importantly is Ming Hui. Okay, so Ming Hui has Ming Hui has 18 years experience in teaching math and science and specialized in secondary school. Okay, so he has taught more than 1,000 students and being featured on Channel 8 and also CNA 938 radio, okay, 938 radio, okay. So 明辉他呢是有丰富的教学经验，有超过18年的教龄，主要是专注于中学的数学和科学学科。然后他呢也是曾经培养过超过上千的学生，而基于他过往那么多的经验，等一下他会重点的也去分析一下如何能够帮助孩子更好的提升他们的数学学习。然后曾经呢他也被第8波道和 CNA 的938电台报道过。Okay, so for today's session, okay, especially in the live chat room, please be respectful useful. I know that we are not requesting for compulsory registration, but you can just feel free to chat in the room. Our assistant will take note of all the questions and feedback to the speakers. And hopefully some of the questions we will answer them during the Q&A session if we have time. Okay, so and also for the audience with inappropriate comments will be removed from the live event immediately. OK， 如果在直播间的大家呢，也请注意你的言辞，因为在直播间中不仅仅有家长，也有低龄的孩子在参加。然后，如果您有言语不当的话，会被我们的assistant 直接踢出直播间，然后您将无法再观看我们的直播内容了。OK，so the next, I will leave the stage to 明辉。OK， 在我们的第一个Yeah, so as I mentioned, Minghui has taught more than 1,000 students in the past. Okay, so later he will focus more on sharing how do you transit from primary school to secondary school and what is the difference between the topics in the primary school and secondary school. 等一下呢，我们就会把我们的现场交给明辉老师，然后他呢主要会去给大家介绍一下小学到中学数学有什么不同，包括一些学习技巧啊和一些小方案。然后接下来我就会I will leave the stage to 明辉。Okay, welcome 明辉。Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Betty. Right. Hi everyone. I'm Ming Hui. So thank you for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. So let's get started. Right, that's me, Ming Hui. So this is what I do. I teach. So I've been teaching for the past 18 years, and that's my family. I'm a father of 2 young boys. So I'm also learning, how to communicate with the youngsters through my teaching and through my family. I've been blessed, especially for the past 1-2 years. I mean, I've been featured on Channel 8 during the COVID period. How learning has changed during this pandemic. I also have been featured on CNA 93.8 and also some live sharing on Facebook Live for some business learning. So that's a brief introduction of myself. Let's move on to today's main topic. So today I'm just going to share more about transiting from primary 6 to secondary school, which I believe there's quite a significant number of students and parents who are now in our event who's going through this phase. Congratulations. I mean, a new adventure is awaiting you. Is going to be very, very fun. So through these 18 years, I also make some observation and talk to many parents and students. And today I'm going to share with you some of the things that which will probably make this transition a lot more fun and efficient. So one of the things that we commonly observe is some students, like when they transit from primary 6 to secondary 1, they find it tougher to adapt. They just find it very different. Especially sometimes we do observe that there are some students who are performing significantly well in a primary math environment, and when they transit into a Sec 1 math environment, they actually don't perform as well. So it puzzles many students. It also puzzles many parents of why this is so. One fundamental thing that we have to understand is, yes, it's still math, but the approach to math changes from a primary math setting to a secondary school setting. It is not say difficult or easy, it is just different. First of all, we understand Singapore math education. The system is we follow a system called CPA, concrete math, pictorial math, and abstract math. So concrete math is for lower primary. You see a lecture. That's why you do Lego. You do the physical counting, ice cream sticks, all this. Then those of you who are now just completed PSLE, you will be very familiar with pictorial math, heuristic approach, where you draw models, you do diagrams, you do listing. That's pictorial math. You actually also being exposed to introduction of what we call abstract math, because you start to learn algebra. That is the introduction. So, but when you move to secondary school, the focus will be mainly on abstract math, which is what we call the algebraic approach. So primary school, concrete and pictorial, we call it the heuristic approach. That's the main difference. So I think a picture tells 1,000 words. Let's take a look at this. You should be very familiar with this since you just completed your PSLE. This is it depends how there's different school of thoughts, but generally most learning, be it schools or learning center or even parents, if you are coaching your own kids or let's say any young man, young lady learning who are on this event now yourself, you probably will be very familiar with this, let's say this 12 heuristic approach to primary math. I mean, we are famous for our diagram model drawing. Access and shortage, make assumptions, guess and check, working backwards, before and after, which is one of the most common method that you use for ratio question. Constant difference, constant total, cross multiply, all this. You should be very, very good at this. This is basically sums up what primary school math is about. So when we move into secondary, we are looking at something more abstract, something that sometimes is tough for you to picture. It is really quite a significant task if I ask you to picture, let's say, binomial theorem in A math. It is hard to picture it. It is more abstract. There are certain things that you still can, for example, like linear graph, quadratic graph. I think that's still possible, but overall, I think you get the message. This is something that is sometimes not much being able to be presented as a diagram. It's more of a concept thing. So the skills become actually less, but sometimes it takes more to really get it into you. Forming, manipulating, elimination. Substitution is actually one of the first things that you introduced when you were in primary 6. So some of you are actually probably quite comfortable with it if you are doing great in primary math. One of the things that is very significantly different is the showing and proving part. If you observe questions in, let's say, primary math, it is mainly understanding and solving. Poya 4-step approach. So understand the question, choose the approach, solve the question, and check it. So that's about primary math. But once you move into secondary math, you will see that it involves a lot more. You are not only given a question to just solve it. A lot of time you are actually required to even form your own approach. You form your own equation. You derive certain values. And another thing that some students may find a bit you need more time to adapt to is you start to have questions to prove something or to solve something. At primary level, you are just mainly required to use a certain concept, use a certain formula, and just solve it. But as you go to secondary level, you probably not only need to find something, you actually need to prove it. Why are you using this? Or show or what to indicate the reason. That's something that's more different when you move to secondary school. Primary 6 topic. Those who are listening now, you actually know that this year you actually have less due to COVID situation. Your PSLE speed was removed, NETS was removed, high graph was removed, P6 portion of volume is being removed. But of course, now I'm showing you what is expected for a P6 PSLE, the normal situation. So this is PSLE P6. But if you look at set 1, this is what awaits you in about 20 days. Okay, this is what awaits you. This is set 1. So one of the quite obvious thing that I think you can observe is the number of questions, the number of topics increases, almost like double. So the chapters are shorter, but it's more diverse. You can see for yourself that you'll be covering a lot more things in set 1. Rest assured that the chapters are not that long. You still have the same 10 months or so to work on. So, but you are actually required to move on and understand different things. So, of course, the topics are very small, like approximation, estimation. That's probably something that you handle it really fast. Some topics that you already know, vectors and multiples, ratio, rate, speed, percentage, patterns, area and perimeter, you are just learning more things, but similar concepts. But at the same time, I think you all will also observe a significant portion of the new topics that you're going to do involve algebra. And you also start to learn like equality, inequalities, all this. So it's going to be pretty fun, pretty fun. So, but what exactly are the difference? So I mean, it's huge. So I today just for today, I prepared 3 simple slides just to give you a brief idea. I'm not going to say, I'm not saying that after these 3 you fully understand, but I think it actually tells you something fundamental. What are you expecting to make this transition? Manage your expectation. So for primary 6, for example, factors and multiples, simple concept. You learn this even in, let's say, in your low primary. So for example, like find the sum of first 2 common multiples of between 6 and 15. We all know you always look at the bigger number 15, then you list it out. This is done using listing. But secondary 1, you don't do that anymore. We introduce the concept of HCF, highest common factors, and LCM, lowest common multiples. Then you no longer list out everything because the number is so huge, it's really not possible. Some schools use the binary tree, some schools actually, the standard way will be to list, do a listing out, but dividing by your prime factors. You also will be given questions that involve more algebra in a way, in the sensing, look at B. So 504 divided by K is a perfect square, write the possible value, you will solve it in this way. So it's not difficult, it just looks different. Patterns. Generally for primary school, remember we say it's more pictorial approach. So generally when we talk about patterns question, usually a diagram will be involved. So you usually have a table where the relationship will be given, the pictures will be given. Then from the picture, some students will actually work out their relationship by themselves. Some people are just observing the pictures and they can still work out a relationship. So you actually can solve it using different approach. Some people by numbers, some people by diagrams. But when you move into secondary school, for example, in the particular situation of a set 1, generally you will see numbers. And in order to do this, and the number is so huge, usually it just involves algebra. We don't even, if we actually give you a specific term, it will be something so huge that it's quite impossible for you to list it down. If we're not going to ask you what's the 7th term, what's the 5th term, that's too easy. You can just list down even if you don't understand. We'll probably ask you something that is quite impossible for you to list down. For example, what's the sum of something at 205 term, the 120 term is really impossible for you to list. You really have to work out a relationship using algebra. Form the relationship, then solve it by substitution. That is secondary math. One more example, of course, algebra. So you can look at primary 6. Simplifying is quite easy. Most of the teacher will probably teach you numbers, algebra, separate out, do the normal 4 operations, finish. Secondary 1, not that difficult also, but there's a possibility that sometimes you'll be having 2 variables instead of 1, or your algebra will involve a fraction, a power, and you have to do the simplifying using fraction concept, but together with an algebra. I think you got the concept. I think you get the big picture now. So anyway, this is not to scare you. This is just to let you have a brief idea of what you're expecting for step 1. Another thing will be I think some questions that some parents or students will be asking is, so how am I going to be tested? Nothing much will change as on the big picture. You still have your mid-year, you still have your end-year. Usually that remains for most schools. I mean, depends on the school. We actually put out different types of streams, but generally mid-year and end-year stays. One thing you probably will feel a bit of difference for one particular area is all the small little tests. So in secondary school, the system generally promote class tests and common tests more frequently. So there are certain schools that do a common test or a class test after every chapter. So you look at the number of chapters you have. So if you divide it over the number of weeks that you are doing, you will know that actually you probably have a small little test, usually about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, for 20, 25 marks every fortnight to every 3 weeks. So that's how they keep track of you. Because they understand that syllabus is so wide, they can't have only one mid-year and one end-year to test you. They have to keep you, let's say, understand they will actually have to give you tiny little bit of milestone to clear along the way. And that's one of the main difference that when you go to set 1, you will notice. And lastly, this is a suggestion from someone who have taught for 18 years. There's one common belief, practice makes perfect. I have to say I personally disagree. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes habit. So you do something long enough, it becomes something that you do very comfortably. So the key thing is practice the right thing. Practice the right thing make perfect. Practice the right thing generate good habit. But so if you keep doing something that is wrong, then that becomes a bad habit. And because you have so many things to cover in secondary school, last minute work will generally be less and less effective. Perhaps it worked for you. Perhaps it's a blessing. Congratulations. But you'll find that as you move from Sec 1 or slowly, up the ladder, Secondary 2, Secondary 3, Secondary 4, you'll find that last minute preparations, last minute jamming and mugging just doesn't work that well anymore. The suggestion is start early. It's just like when you start your lower primary. When you're in primary 1, primary 2, primary 3, math is math. Get the good foundation first. Build it up. Know the fundamental of algebra, know the fundamental of manipulation, basic skills. The fundamental skills will stay with you as you go higher level. Do not wait until like Sec 2 when you need to do streaming, or even, some people drag it all the way until Sec 3, Sec 4 when you need to do E-math, A-math, where calculus start to come in, and then you start to really need help, but you not do that, all your foundations are actually not there, then math will become a challenge. If you start earlier, it should be a breeze and you should enjoy. So before I hand over to Betty, so congratulations again, you have cleared one major milestone at this age, which is PSLE. But at the same time, we do know that PSLE is just a part of the process. So enjoy your Sec 1. It's going to be a very fun year. All the best for your new adventure. So Betty, back to you.
Okay, thanks Ming Hui for the sharing that, like practice the right thing makes perfect, not practice makes perfect. And honestly speaking, I totally agree with you. Practice makes confidence, because when I was a student, when I go through the exams, sometimes I become nervous because I'm scared that, I was a last minute mugger in the university sometimes. And it's really nervous that last minute you are preparing everything and you don't have the confidence, and that will really like discourage you a lot during the exam period. Yeah. So, okay. So next part, okay, we are going to leave the stage to our panel discussion. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Ming Hui, and I will bring you down. Okay. Thanks a lot for your time. Okay. Later, let's come back again. Okay, so the next part, I'm going to leave the session as a panelist discussion with Mr. E and Rongli and also Kaizim, that to talk about, as a parent, how do you prepare better for your during the secondary school period, and as an ex-student, what is the unique techniques you can use to help you with your secondary school learning? Okay, so I will leave the stage to JJ, and okay, so thanks JJ, I'll pass the mic to you.
All right. Thank you, Betty. All right. Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Jen Jong. As Betty has introduced, I've been in the education industry for now almost 30 years. And but I think, of course, my biggest experience in education is my own 3 children having to grow through the education system, the last one of which is in the just started university, and 2 are already working. Okay, but today I'm not the one speaking. The speakers we have Dr. Chang Rongli and also Mr. Kazim, and they will share different perspective. Rongli will share from her experience how she came to Singapore, and when her son was only 1 year old. From 1 year old, he went through our education all the way till now he's about to enroll in university. And then Kazim will share his perspective as someone who is young and having gone through our system from neighborhood school to now doing his master's. 首先呢，我就让张丽来张博士来做一个自我介绍吧。荣丽。
好，谢谢姐姐。我是荣丽，大家好，我先跟大家做个自我介绍了。我大学呢学的是数学专业，毕业之后呢，在北京做了8年的中学老师，到新加坡之后呢，在新加坡国立大学NUS 统计系吧，读了硕士和博士学位。毕业之后呢，在新加坡科技局就是 SDA 了，和杜克国大医学院就是杜克 NUS 做基因大数据的研究工作。最近几年呢，一直在做的都是教育相关的工作。 统计呢是数学的分支，所以呢这么多年以来呢，从本科、硕士、博士到工作，我一直呢都在做的数学相关的工作了。作为一个家长我陪伴了孩子经历了整个小学、中学12年的学习。今天呢有幸从家长的角度来谈谈数学的学习，所以呢我也简单介绍一下我孩子的我儿子呢是南华小学毕业，他考到英华，就是 SSRE O-level 班经过 O-level 考试呢，又考回本校的 RB 课程。明年呢，他将进入 NTU 读大学。OK， 我的介绍就是。
Okay, thank you, Ronly. So she was explaining her own process going through our system and with her son going into NTU soon. All right, now over to Kazim.
Thanks, JJ. Hi, guys. I'm Kazim. I'm 27 years old this year and have been in school math more than 6 years now. And as what Betty had mentioned, neighborhood schools, having gone to Kuo Chuan Presbyterian Primary and secondary schools, after which I went on to Anderson Junior College, and then I graduated from NUS with a bachelor's in engineering. And currently, I'm actually taking my master's degree. I have been teaching mathematics at the secondary level for over 6 years, and I take immense pride in having guided many students in achieving their potential in maths. Yep.
All right, yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chang and Kazim. Now, we have prepared a few questions, and I will just ask each of you to answer some of these questions. So you'll be a bit more structured in the sharing, and remembering that Kazim will be sharing from the perspective of being a student in Singapore, and Dr. Chang will be sharing from the perspective of a mother, helping to guide her child through our system. And I believe in the audience there are many parents there. Okay, first I want to ask the difference between learning in the primary and secondary school. Earlier, Minghui has shared a little about that, but let's hear from former students' perspective and also a mother's perspective. Perhaps I'll just go according to the screen, and Kazim can go first.
Sure, thanks, JJ. So being a product of the Singapore education system myself, I would say that the largest difference between primary and secondary school learning are these. I mean, firstly, there's a lot more hand-holding in primary school than in secondary school, as there should be. I'd say in primary school, teachers have the biggest responsibility in introducing like fresh mathematical concepts, like what Minghui has said earlier, in the most understandable yet innovative way they know how, right? Whereas in secondary school, students have the largest responsibility in ensuring they absorb and practice the concepts thoroughly. This can often be overwhelming for students not used to the rigor, especially when balancing the many CCAs and their social lives, like what I had to go through. Therefore, it's especially important that students receive proper guidance and mentorship for a subject like maths. The next thing is in primary school, the focus is on the breadth of the subject as students are introduced to the many basic concepts in every subject they take, but they never really dive into the nits and grits of the subject. It can be challenging for students to understand and remember the many topics at once, especially since they're learning it for the first time. This is something that I had to battle with in primary school. But in secondary school, it's a different ballgame altogether, where the emphasis is on the depth in learning, as students are expected to really understand the concepts, formulas, and apply them independently and accurately. Those are the two largest differences, in my opinion, between primary school and secondary school.
Thank you, Kazim. 现在我们就问荣丽，当为一个妈妈呢，你感觉这个小学和中学的学习有什么不同呢？
中学呢跟小学有很大的不同。首先呢，从科目上来说啦，小学呢只有4科，就英语、数学、科学和母语了。中学呢有7、8门课，增加了历史啊、地理、文学啊等等科目。其次，从时间上来说吧，小学呢 CCA， 你说除了校队以外，孩子们不需要花太多的时间的。但是中学呢，每个孩子都要在 CCA 上花不少时间。当然，从课程的难度来说，中学比小学呢高了很多。这样就是说，到了中学，时间变少了，功课变多了，功课的难度也增加了。这就要求呢， 每个孩子都要有很好的时间管理能力。但是中学呢是一个全新的开始，中学所学的知识和方法跟小学其实也有很大的不同，所以呢，小学的成绩不代表中学。不管你 PSLE 成绩如何，进入的中学呢是哪一间学校，其实都是一个新的起点。只要你去努力了，我相信每一个孩子呢，到了中学以后都可以成为更加优秀的自己。谢谢。
Okay, 谢谢 Rongli. Yeah, just to summarize, I think she shared some very interesting points, especially this part about your PSLE score may not be reflective of what you do in secondary. And I can say for my own 3 children, they went to all neighborhood schools like Kazim, but they all ended up in the universities and doing good causes. And also one of the important things is that, yes, no matter what your PSLE results was, whether it's good or not so good, secondary is a new beginning and there are more subjects. But if you master it, sometimes you can overtake because some people cannot handle 7, 8 subjects plus all the CCA and the increased debt. And if you are able to be motivated, you can really handle it. Which brings us to the next topic. I want to ask Kazim and Rongli too, that maybe you can share about how you overcome challenges in secondary studies. Kazim?
Sure. So the biggest difficulty I had in secondary school was really understanding and memorizing the formulas and concepts. This was especially so for, additional and express mathematics topics. This was because I realized that I only learned better through practice, which I was not getting because of my many CCA commitments. Like you said, secondary school life is just a balance or a juggle between CCA life, your social life, and everything else that's going on. And like what Betty and Minghui said earlier, practice builds confidence and sharpens the skills, right, needed for maths. So topics like linear algebra, probability, and functions and graphs were the toughest for me because these were very new and very large topics. So luckily for me, at that point in time, I enlisted the help of a tutor before the end of my secondary 1 final exams. And he ensured that I actually practiced sufficiently and accurately prior to the exams. He also ensured that I understood every step in every mathematical problem I undertook. And I remember his famous saying that that students often have this misconception that math is just a regurgitation of formula. He said it's equally important to understand the topic very well and the steps at a step-by-step basis, as it will help me retain information better. And so I stuck by his advice through secondary school and even utilized this technique in my teaching today. So I think that would be one of the best ways to overcome any challenges in secondary school math per se. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Kazim, for the very important sharing, because personally, I went through that myself too, and also observed my children, that the understanding is a very important part, because there are so many things. If the foundation is not correct, and if the child does not understand the concept, and you try to memorize, imagine when you go to JC level and the amount of things you have to memorize. If you memorize without understanding, there's no way you can actually be able to go through. In primary school, you can still, memorize certain steps and all that. Of course, you need to understand, but the higher you go, there are too many things to memorize. Okay, thanks very much. Perhaps now, 现在我就问荣你了，你来分享一下吧。
好的。中学阶段的学习相比小学呢，肯定是有比较多的挑战的。当然了，对于要考 O level 的孩子来说，最大的挑战就是如何应对 O level 考试。那如何应对这些挑战呢？我呢就简单的讲一下我家孩子是如何准备 O level 数学考试的。当然在这之前吧，我首先介绍一下这边的考试制度。新加坡的学生呢，在中1、中2是统一学习7、8门课的。他们到了中2学期期末的时候呢，每个学生都要进行选科。学生呢通常会选8门课或者9门课，而在这些课程中呢，数学占了2门。那就是 E-Maths 和 I-Maths。可见数学呢，在新加坡是个非常重要的学科。E-Maths 呢是每个学生必选科目。在 O-Level 考试中呢，它包括试卷1和试卷2。试卷1呢有25道简短的问题组成，卷面是80分，占44%，时间呢为2个小时。试卷2呢有10到11个题目， 总共卷面呢是100分，占56%，考试时间为2个半小时。总的来说呢，eMaths 的题目比较简单，主要就是说你理解概念啊就可以了。但是 eMaths 要拿到 A1 呢，通常要达到90%以上的分数才行。并不是所有的学生呢都选修 eMaths， 当然啦，有些比较好的学校，他把 eMaths 列作必修科目的，但相对来说呢 ，eMaths 的题目要难一些，就是有点绕弯，需要你多加思考才能解答的。eMaths 的考试也是分2张试卷，试卷1有12到13道题，卷面80分，考试时间为2个小时；试卷2呢有11道题左右，卷面100分，考试时间为2个半小时。eMaths 呢，通常要拿到 A1 需要在85%以上的分数才可以。新加坡这样的考卷呢设置呢，因为它通常是大题里边包括很多小题，每个小题呢占的分值很少，这样的设计考卷呢就导致了说考试的涵盖的内容非常广泛，考点特别丰富，那么就要求孩子呢需要把每一个知识点都加以掌握才能够考好。所以如果孩子想拿 A1， 那就是意味着说他要在规定的时间内快速准确的把题目都完成，这个的确是需要训练才能达到的。不过呢 O level 的考试呢有一个好处，就是它的考点呢相对是固定的，而大众书籍嘛，每年都有卖历年10年考题那些，学校呢在考前也会让孩子去做，但是呢做过不等于你可以拿高分。那面对 O level 考试如何准备数学才能拿到 A1 呢？我就简单介绍一下我家孩子是如何准备的吧。首先呢，一定要查找自己的薄弱环节。我家孩子数学成绩吧不太稳定，属于忽高忽低类型的。Prelim 之前他自我感觉挺好的，所以呢认为不需要辅导，自己复习就可以了。可是呢，等 Prelim 结果出来，成绩却不理想。那怎么办呢？首先呢，我就让他把考卷上的每一道错题都仔细的分析一下，到底是概念理解错误还是计算的失误，要透过现象看本质。有些呢表面上你看的是所谓的粗心，其实可能是因为你的概念理解有偏差。所以呢，通过分析考卷，找出所有概念不清的地方，然后统一集中起来，把概念理解透彻了，然后呢再把历年试卷中所有这类的题目拿出来加以强化训练。对于计算呢容易出错的题目呢，也看看是不是因为公式或者步骤你不够熟悉导致的，然后呢进行找类似的题目加以强化训练。所以我认为呢，任何所谓的粗心其实可能都是因为你练习不够导致的。其次呢，我们还要进行精准训练，因为考试嘛它需要精准度，这就要加强做题速度的训练。这一点呢，我们家一直是采用计时训练的方法。比如吧，你把一个类型的错题集中起来比如要求他20分钟内完成几道题，把各种容易犯错的题目呢训练好之后，然后你再进行整套试卷的计时训练呢，就容易很多。当然了，每一套题目刷完一定要及时总结其中的错误，把错题挑出来，这样呢你进行刷下一套题目的时候呢才有效果。数学肯定是需要刷题的，需要练习，但不是简单的刷题，它需要有针对自己的薄弱环节高效的刷题练习，才能够更快的提高自己的成绩。当然呢，从我家孩子的准备中，我也有一个教训，那就是一定要提前做好准备，而不是等 Prelim 之后的临时抱佛脚。我现在回想那段时间都感到深深的后怕，因为 O level 有8门课呀，每门课都要考几张试卷，提前准备才是确保考好的法宝。最后呢，我想跟大家分享一下，就是说中学阶段其实除了学习面临的还一大挑战就是亲子关系。好的亲子关系其实是有助于提高学业的。那身为父母的我们呢，如何跟孩子保持良好沟通呢？我认为前提当然就是说，我们要学会尊重孩子，理解孩子每天所面临的压力给他们足够的空间，让他们充分的表达自我，舒缓他们的紧张情绪。当然，对于孩子来说，你们也要体谅父母的不易和父母的不完美。父母嘛，在与孩子相互陪伴中呢，是共同成长的。到了中学，家长呢很难像小学那样高度参与孩子的学习，但是呢，我认为定期监督呢还是有必要的。比如吧，每周家长可以抽出一定的时间陪孩子聊聊天， 在聊天的过程中，你就可以了解孩子的学习啊，以及其他方面是否遇到困难。然后呢，大家一起讨论解决的方案。家长嘛，总是在孩子需要的时候提供支持和帮助的那个人。其实吧，孩子长大很快，作为家长的我们，在孩子需要的时候，可以陪伴他们一起成长，也是一种幸福。尤其是等孩子长大之后，回想起那些一起陪伴他们的日子，还是非常温馨和美好的。谢谢大家。
All right, thank you, Rongli. Yeah, as you can hear, she's a very experienced. Even share the details of what's the timing for all the different papers and what you have to go through in EMATH and AMATH. And I think she shared a few interesting points. The first is that if you are helping your child to prepare, look at the specific weaknesses, accumulate them together and analyze whether it's like calculation error because of maybe careless mistake, or is it concept error? And then you try to drill them in those. And then of course, she mentioned about having to prepare early as far as possible. Now, the other point that she mentioned, which is very good and coming from a mother, is also this thing about having parent-child relationship. Because while exams are very important, and I speak from a father who has 3 kids who have gone through our education system also, the teenage years are the time where they start to have friends, they start to have a lot of CCAs, they start to have so many subjects to study, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of adolescent change happening. So do communicate. For those who are parents out there, do communicate with your child and be understanding. Yeah, and also maybe for those students out there, to understand that your parents are anxious about you also. They just want the best for you. Okay, which brings me to the next topic. And this one I will ask specifically Kazim, because Kazim gone through our system. So perhaps Kazim want to share what you think are some of the important and difficult math topics in our syllabus.
Sure. So, I mean, I'll speak from a lower secondary school math perspective, and I'd say the most important math topics are generally the most difficult ones, especially in lower secondary school. And these topics would generally be very abstract ones, and I could name a couple of examples for you. They'd be algebraic expansion and expression, algebraic factorization, and inequalities, to just name a few. The reason is because these topics are relatively broad, but they are so important for any lower secondary school student to learn. And I personally encountered a lot of difficulty mastering the techniques like the rainbow technique and factorization technique, like completing the square, because these were formulas or techniques that were very new for somebody entering secondary school. And you will slowly realize, or you soon realize that, you know, it's just not about memorizing that formula and just applying it to the question, because nowadays the questions can be very innovative. So it's about knowing what or how to tackle the question in the first place, and that can sometimes be, you know, be mastered through practice or just simply really understanding, having a good grasp of the topic. And the second reason why I named topics is because these are topics which would still be taught in upper secondary school math, right? And therefore it's important for students to nail the basics in lower secondary first. And I have many a times come across upper secondary students who struggle with these topics because they had forgotten these concepts or had become very rusty due to a lack of practice. So I'd say it's important for students to practice thoroughly, get the fundamentals right, because these 3 topics would be very heavily tested on in upper secondary school. It's just the way they test it would be different, and how the questions are phrased would be very different. So that's something else to, you know, to look out for when you enter upper secondary level. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kazim. Before we continue to question 4, the guests, the panelists may want to take note. There is a question in the chat room: how to help the child build up self-discipline when there are so many distractions in secondary school. So maybe after the 4th question, we can go to this question and you can think about it too, right? Kazim can share from somebody who is young and having gone through secondary schools where there are many distractions, especially football. And then Rongli can share from a mother how you help your child maintain some discipline to cope with so many subjects. But maybe let's go to the last question. Sorry, was named as question 3, but it should be question 4. Study tips to master math. So maybe we will ask, maybe now I have a change since Kazim just finished. Maybe I ask Rongli now. Rongli, 你可以分享一下有什么秘诀吗？来学习这个数学？
数学的学习吧，没有捷径了。学好数学也不是一蹴而就的事情。我简单分享几点注意事项吧。首先呢，就是对概念一定要有一个清晰和深入的理解，这点非常重要。尤其是对中3、中4高年级的学生来说，你概念理解清楚了，才能保证有效的解决错题的问题。其次呢，就是大量练习。当然啦，高年级的学生嘛，面对 O-level 考试，除了10年考题以外呢，还要练习一些名校的 prelim 试卷。因为呢 prelim 的考卷呢，它的难度大一些，学习那些可以增加对难题的掌握。当然，中学的知识是连贯的，中1、中2的打好基础非常重要，尤其是数学。简单学习概念是远远不够的，一定要通过做题来巩固和加强对概念的理解。足够的练习嘛，才能保证数学有个满意的成绩。最后呢，我想说一下如何面对考试吧。我认为呢，考试重要呢是在考前。考前呢，一定要静心准备 ，try your best， 尽你最大努力了。但考完试最重要的是总结每份考卷，从中呢找到自己的知识薄弱环节呀，知道自己需要改进和提高的地方，这样你下一场考试嘛才能有所进步。至于考试成绩，我觉得考完就坦然面对，因为一次考试无非就是对一个阶段学习成果的检测，而这些阶段在我们漫长的人生中其实都不算什么。尤其现在吧，是终生学习的时代，我们每个人只要不停的努力，不断的学习，最终都会实现自己的目标，而任何一场考试都不足以决定我们的未来。谢谢。
Thank you, Rongli. So basically, you're sharing that, first you need to make sure that you have a good foundation in the concepts, and there's a linkage between what you learn in lower secondary and upper secondary, and you need to analyze all your exams results and all that so that you can improve on it. And also you need to get yourselves all prepped up and ready for the exams. All right, over to Kazim.
Question 4, right?
Yeah, the last one, study tips.
Sure. So for me, right, I think that many people study and learn maths differently at different paces in secondary school. As for me, the best tip I can give students is to place the greatest emphasis on understanding the concepts first. I think this is what Rongli mentioned as well, if I'm not wrong. So it's not entirely about memorizing formula and applying it, as the questions can be very tricky and innovative these days. I mean, teachers have the greatest, are getting more creative. So it's not like, I memorize something and I just regurgitate during the exam. I think it's really, you have to really understand the subject matter very well. And I think this is how students can, do that. The first thing I'd say is, take notes every lesson. I think this will make revision easier later on. The second thing I would say is, ask and clarify any and everything they need to, I had learned that, getting clarification early on is just as important as revision, as it helps students understand and retain information there and then, especially for abstract topics like algebra. The third tip I can give students is to look for a study support group, like a clique of friends to study with, or, a tuition group, so that they can validate their understanding and have the discipline to practice. I think it's especially important for maths, because it's unlike a subject like biology, where you cannot simply memorize words from a textbook and apply these. So yeah, I think these are the 3 general tips I would think are quintessential for students to follow.
Thank you, Kazim. Yeah, and I find that it's important to, especially this part about taking notes. And when I mentioned taking notes, when I observe how some students, or even when I was a student, I look at how some of my classmates were taking notes, and they're basically copying everything the teacher said on the board. but it's important that you process it as you write down. Even better if you can summarize it so that it doesn't even have to be a whole thing, but if you understand it then and you write and you take the notes, then it's important, and get your concepts cleared up right early rather than leave it till exam time, then try to figure out, because many of the topics are really linked together, right? So very good. We have a little bit of time, so we had that question, how to help the child build up self-discipline when there are many distractions. So let's see who wants to go first. 可能荣丽你要分享一下吗？中学呢，有很多这个东西来让他们分心。作为一个妈妈，你怎样帮你的儿子？
其实这个是对每个家长来说都不是一件容易的事情，因为孩子嘛，到了中学，他们长大了，独立了，也开始叛逆了。而且他们跟同学的联系更多嘛，比如手机呀、WhatsApp 每天从早到晚呐、游戏呀等等的。那如何来就是说约束他们呢？我觉得最主要的还是沟通，让我们大家一起来商量，一个就是规则吧。因为孩子跟家长呢，我们大家不是敌人的关系，而是共同战好的战友。对吧？我们的目的都是为了孩子越来越好嘛，这一点一定要先达成共识。不管家长如何来帮他约束他，最终的目的是为了让他好，让他的成绩可以提高，对吧？所以我们大家可以一起商量一个规则，比如说关于手机，关于游戏是不是周末才可以玩呀？手机是不是每天最多可以用1个小时啊、2个小时啊 ？WhatsApp 用的时间有多久呀？大家一起商量了。我觉得就是一起商量达成共识以后呢，孩子相对来说呢也比较容易遵守这个规则。我是觉得单纯的说靠家长统一来告诉他命令他如何来做，这个其实是很困难的，因为孩子大了嘛，我们要尊重他们，他们其实每个孩子也想好，也想变好的，他们自己也想管好自己的，所以就告诉他们说，如果他们有时候控制不住自己的时候，家长可以帮忙提醒他们，比如有的时候那手机他控制不了，可以在他学习的时候说，那你把手机交给我来帮你管呀，对吧？等你学习完了，我再把手机还给你呀，这都是为了帮他，而不是真的为了约束他了。我是觉得这样慢慢的吧，可以养成一个自我约束的习惯了。
Okay, 谢谢。Yeah, so Rongli was sharing that first principle is that the parent and child are on the same page. All right, you're together in this to help each other to overcome the challenges. Right, so they're not enemies. So and if there is a need for they can establish some rules. And if the child needs some additional help, you can tell them, hey, maybe now that you're practicing your studies, would you like to hand your phone for me to look after for a half hour and an hour so that you can concentrate on your work, and I'll give you back later, that kind of things. All right, maybe over to Kazim.
I think that's a very good question, I think, from the audience. I will speak from like a student's perspective. I mean, having gone through the many tug of wars with my parents myself. Well, just to give you a little context, back in secondary school, I was doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I was into the CCAs. I mean, I was captain of the football team. I was also the chairperson of the physical education leaders in my secondary school. And I was taking the many subjects, including express maths and A maths, triple science and everything. So for me, as it was back then, it was already very difficult for me to balance the subjects and my CCA. But at the same time, from a student's perspective, right, you still want to have your social gatherings. You still want to have your social life. So I think it's also very important at that period, at that phase, for secondary school students to have that. So I think parents cannot, take that away from students unless it's really like a desperate situation of sorts. So I think from a student's perspective, actually what got me through that period was, really understanding what my end goal was in life, right? Or at least for secondary school. And so goal setting to me was what drove me to overcome all these distractions and having a good balance, time management, so that I can prioritize, what's what during my secondary school life. Like during the exams, I wouldn't necessarily be hanging out with friends so much, but early on, I mean, I wouldn't really bother about studies so much, and I'll be hanging out with friends. I think that's normal, as long as you know what you want to achieve, and then you know how to get there. So like, I think what Rongli mentioned, it's important for the parents to support the children in attaining that goal, and ensuring and really having a good grasp of what their day-to-day life is, and not assuming. I think the problem comes when parents assume, that the child is not really studying, but he's trying his best. So I think the balance between a parent and child's alignment should be there, most importantly, as well. Yeah.
All right, very interesting. We had the sharing from a parent, from her perspective, how she guided her child. And then you hear from Kazim as a young man, who have gone through the system, and also telling parents that, to have some understanding, because parents sometimes, when they don't see the child studying, they assume that they are switching off. But of course, you need to get to know your child, whether they are switching off or they are like just chilling because it's really stressful. But there's also one thing that is, I thought as I was listening to their sharing, and especially Kazim shared about his very active student life. Parents also need to know that the CCA, as we call them today, my time was called ECA, they're actually a very important part of a child's development. They are not extra, which is why this called co-curricular activity. In the past, it was called extra. And when I was in college, you guess how many ECA I had? I had actually 5 ECAs. Yeah, so it's like almost one every day, plus outside life. But of course, you basically want to know how you want to manage it. And I think it's very good that you can manage multiple distractions, multiple challenges, and still be able to cope with it. I think this speaks volume. And personally, I think I remember a lot more from my ECAs than from what I studied in school, because many of this leadership and opportunities and important opportunities are actually very important in the child's development. So whoever was asking the question about distractions, yes, some things could be distractions, but some things I wouldn't call them necessary distractions, like Kazim being active in football, being the captain of the football team, and also being the chair of the physical education group. I think that's very important. You look at how fit he is today. Yeah. All right. Are there any more questions? Yeah. If not, actually, we have come to the end of the prepared questions, and I don't know if Betty has any questions. Should I hand the time over to Betty now?
Hi. Yeah. Hi. Thanks a lot, ex-student and parent, and especially I myself is actually a young parent, okay, with a 1-year-old baby. So there are so many things I have to take notes. Okay, I'm actually behind the scene taking note of what I need to really position myself as a young parent. Okay, so and besides today's session from sharing from the ex-student and the parents' perspective, we actually have a next upcoming session on Thursday. So it's just coming in 4 days time. So Thursday evening we have a session with 4 students. They are standing at the current students' perspective. 2 are 13 years old, 2 are 17 years old. So 2 from Sec 1 and 2 from TJC JC1 to share about how do they communicate with parents. Okay, so what they want the parents to hear. Okay, so welcome to join our next session. I think it will be really interesting to hear from the students' perspective of how to communicate with parents. Okay, so and thank you everyone for the wonderful panelist discussion, and I hope it's very helpful for the people in the live chat room. And it's really great that we have seen there are already more than 1.8K views currently in the live chat room, even though everybody is quiet. Okay, so yeah, so okay, thanks a lot. And the next part, I will be sharing about more about Miao. Okay, so yeah. Okay, just give me a minute to load that. And I will bring you all back to the stage once I finish the sharing. I will try to chop within about 5 to 10 minutes time. Okay, so thank you.
Yo.
Okay, so I will finishing up by sharing a little bit more about Miao. And welcome to Miao Academy. I'm Betty. Okay, so Miao is an educational technology company that focuses on math and science and mainly online. And we have been incubated by Microsoft BizPark and Amazon AWS, the EdStart program, and together with National University of Singapore School of Computing. And we have been joining the Ministry of Education, the EduLab program for multiple times as well to share about how educational technology can facilitate the teacher's learning. Okay, so we have two core main products. Just now the video shows the Miao's beta product, the messenger bot, and also Miao Math homework solver app is also freely available. Both of the products are freely available for students and parents to use. And as what the video has shown, that it's mainly to help with instant answering of some concepts, of some homework questions, and to show the relevant learning resources like the educational videos and articles, and together with highly similar questions and the solution videos. Okay, until date, we have achieved close to 230,000 registered students with our platforms. And there are currently more than 10,000 educational learning resources available out there for students to use. And we have drawn the complete math knowledge map by linking the dots of the specific knowledge concepts into our whole automated system. There are about 3,000 math nodes there, and there are more than 1 million database available for students to search. And hopefully next year we'll be launching the other three subjects, biology, physics, and chemistry, to complete this whole automated system part. And we still want to emphasize that the core main products is always freely available for everybody to use. When they need to ask someone like at midnight, don't worry, you have this free automated system for you to use. Okay, so besides the academic parts, we focuses a lot on how math and science can help you in your actual, like in your real life. Like we initiated these Miao Meets bloggings to share about, for example, the NSC, who used to use math and science knowledge to make educational videos, and in the end being awarded with 1,250,000 bond-free scholarship to support her educational, to support her university. Yeah, so you can check more about it, like when we will release more information about it soon. And also, this is the people that within our Miao ecosystems that our emphasis of developing this whole automated system is how students link and how the students who are good at math and science and can help other students. So this actually is a group of people that behind the scene to build this knowledge bank, to link the nodes there, to facilitate the whole Miao system training. And out of them, I think all of them has been awarded with some kind of scholarship. Okay, I think majority, I wouldn't say all. Okay, so and including EDB scholarship, including the prestige president PSA scholarship. Okay, there are two people has been awarded with a PSA scholarship. Okay, these are the people behind the scene to train the system. So, and about 3 months ago, we started this initiative on Miao Meets Live, because besides blogging, we also want to have more communications, like the live sessions with the people to share about their experience. So these are the student-focused live sharing sessions. And today is the first session of the Miao Meets Expert session. So in the future, we are expecting about at least one live event per month, besides the blogging Miao Meets. Okay, so these are the past achievements that we have been made, including the partnerships and incubations. And also these are the past events that we have gone through, the Singapore Science and Engineering Festival that represented Singapore to get some awards. Okay, so, and these are the past news features that you can search through. Okay, so, and today it's the first time that we are going to introduce about Miao course, and here I'm listing all in Chinese but explain in English. Okay, so Miao course is actually our first ever launch besides the automating system, because we realized that automating system definitely helps instantly, but there are so many restrictions out there to really help students to improve their scores, because in the end, you know, like for due to the competition among peers, we still need to try to achieve as very good scores to enter our dream university, dream secondary school, dream junior colleges, right? So the whole philosophy of our course is try to offer as a affordable pricing. And this round we only announce at the small group classes, and in the future we will be going to announce the micro classes with very minimum pay for each of the lessons. Okay, and also our principle is affordable pricing, professional lessons, and also the dedicated teamwork and automated systems to facilitate. So this is a core, the main people behind the scene to manage the whole Miao courses. Okay, so including Dr. Zhang and JJ. Okay, they are the academic side advisories for these whole classes. And I myself, I have been through National University of Singapore, the quantitative finance degree, the honors degree, and also continue my master's from University of Pennsylvania, US, with my computing master's. So I am mainly facilitating with the technology side of the whole courses. Okay, so, and our whole courses comes with the complete 5-step learning cycle, including before the lesson, like we collect the feedbacks to tailor for each lessons, that tailor the difficulty levels for each of the for the students in that class. Okay, and during the lessons, like we encourage more class participations in we try to integrate about every 20 minutes there are some type of quizzes participations during the scene. You can't just listen to the teacher's talk. Okay, and the post lessons we have the graded homework with we will do very detailed grading for each of the questions, because we believe that improving math scores is mainly through practice and understanding. So we try to explain all the details during classes, but after classes, we still encourage students to do more focused practicing to top up the knowledges for each of the topics that they have learned. Okay, so including a graded homework with additional practices of varying difficulty for students to choose. And we also have the review systems, like after the lesson, they can review anytime, anywhere, for like, because it's recorded in the system as well. They can review it even before the exams. They can still do the detailed reviewing for each detailed topics that they want to refer to. And besides that, we integrate together with our Miao app and Miao bot to facilitate this. We facilitate the after class question answering part, and integrate more content out there for students to search to understand better about the courses, about each of the topics. Okay, so this is some of the screenshots I listed here. So students will be receiving the reports of each lesson and progress for the courses, and together with the homework grading, we will be doing grading for each questions that we give to the students. So students will be understanding about their personal weakness through the practices as well. And besides that, we are currently the educational team is working on the complete solution videos for the past 10 years PYP questions. So including EMAS and AMAS, that will be all available for our students to do the detailed reviewing if they are pursuing to the O-level exams. Okay, and I have listed here of our teaching team as well. We, to cater for our philosophy, teaching philosophy, like Okay, Kaizim has been here, and Mr. Lim has more than 25 years of teaching experience. He has been teaching in teaching in secondary schools, also teaching in tuition centers, and also teaching in poly. So, and he is also one of the pioneers to explore about adaptive learnings when he was teaching in poly as well. Okay, so Chen Xi is our team's young blood, but he's really good at solving questions. He understands how to use different methods to solve the same question and what are the so-called the shortcuts, the tips to solve some type of particular question. And he has went through NUS High, okay, and also double degree in NTU. Okay, so besides there, here is the current scheduling for our courses. And for each of the lesson, we are only catering maximum 12 students for each of the lesson because it's the first time launch the class. Like we want to work the best to cater it for all the students in our classes. Okay, so we only have a cap limit of 12 students for each of the lesson, and for each of the subject listed here, there are actually total 6 subjects. We only open one class for this round. Okay, and I think in the live chat room we have shared about the link of the details of the class and how do you join, join the discounts, enjoy the discounts out there, so you can check more details about the listings in the 公众号. And besides that, this is the special note that we are only announcing here during this live chat session. Okay, so we will be giving out a special pricing for each of the courses listed here. There are total 6 only. For each of the courses, maximum 3 students. We will be offering 4 classes of $80 for the students, but we only cap it at 3 capacities for each of the courses listed here. So total, there are 18 capacities, 18 slots available for students to sign up for this special discount. So we are only announcing here first, and we will be sharing with our network in about 1-2 days time. So yeah, so anybody interested can just contact Rachel here either through WhatsApp or through the WeChat to ask more about the details. And this is a special code of double 12. So 双十二. I think people are busy shopping, but yeah, don't forget about education as well. Okay, so this is the listing up here. And that's all for my sharing. And if you want to know more, you can check about our social media platforms. And for the Chinese communities, you can check more about our 公众号 that we actually have a lot of things going on and will be shared with everybody soon. So yeah, okay, that's all for my sharing, and thanks a lot. Okay, thanks a lot for your time today. And please allow me to bring back all the speakers today. Okay, thank you so much for, okay, let me go back to the first page. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing this precious Sunday afternoon with us. Thank you, JJ. Okay, let me do this because it's a class. Thank you, Kaizin. Thank you, Minghui. And thank you, Rongli. Okay, if you have any follow-up questions about any panelists today, just feel free to ask in our Telegram group or contact us through the Instagram, or you can contact us through the WeChat groups in Chinese. Okay, so WeChat group is for Chinese. Okay, so yeah, just thank you, and let's say bye-bye. And anybody just clap for our panelists. Okay, clap in the live chat room. Let's hear. Hopefully, I can hear your hand. Okay. So bye bye everyone. Have a good Sunday afternoon and evening. Okay. And Merry Christmas. Oh no, sorry. We have another session, so I say Merry Christmas next week. Okay. Bye bye, and Merry Christmas to everyone here. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.